China declares an area around a disputed shoal in the South China Sea a nature reserve, and Taiwan and the Philippines call foul. Pacific Island nations hope for an ocean of peace, but worry they could be swept up in the tides of geopolitics.
I think there is a concern that the great power competition between the People's Republic of China and the United States of America is now impacting even the running of the annual Pacific Island Forum.
The French Africa Foundation is in Taipei for Chip Industry Expo Semicon. We speak to one of their fellows to find out what they're taking away from their time in Taiwan. Plus, with Semicon wrapping up, we delve into a key trend shaping up to be the chip industry's next major move.
There's still demand for chips getting smaller and cheaper, more efficient, especially now that AI is, and it's getting harder and harder at the same time to scale in the traditional way, which was 2D.
A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Leslie Liao. China has declared a nature reserve on a disputed shoal in the South China Sea. The move has angered the Philippines and sparked a protest from Taiwan, which both see the shoal as their own. John Van Trieste has more.
The seas are calm around the Scarborough Shoal out in the South China Sea, but the air is filled with fresh tension. Both the Philippines and China lay claim to this uninhabited shoal. It's small but rich in fish stocks and sits astride one of the world's key shipping routes. Beijing seized it in 2012, and now it's looking to cement its control by declaring a nature reserve over the area. The Philippines is angry. Though sovereignty over the shoal has never been formally settled, an international court did reject China's claims over it and much of the South China Sea in 2016. A spokesperson from the Philippine Foreign Ministry protested the development using her country's preferred name for the shoal, Bajo de Masinloc. In these disputed waters, even the place names are contested.
The Philippines strongly protests the recent approval by the State Council of China of the establishment of the so-called Huangyan Island National Nature Reserve. Bajo de Masinloc is a long-standing and integral part of the Philippines, over which it has sovereignty and jurisdiction.
But China rejects the 2016 court ruling. It says the new reserve shows it's a good custodian of the shoal, which it refers to as Huangyan Island, and a responsible global power concerned about the environment.
黄岩岛是中国的固有领土，建立黄岩岛国家级自然保护区是中方主权范围内的事，旨在保护黄岩岛的生态环境，维护黄岩岛自然生态系统多样性、稳定性、持续性。
China and the Philippines aren't the only claimants, though. Taiwan, too, considers most of the South China Sea to be its territory. Taiwan even has yet another name for the shoal, 民主礁 or Democracy Shoal.
中国完全无权在我国的民主礁非法片面划设保护区。中国政府的单边举措，凸显其霸权心态，是区域和平稳定的破坏者，恐将引发区域国家间的争端。
While holding firm to Taiwan's sovereignty over the shoal, the foreign ministry says Taiwan is willing to work with the Philippines and others to peacefully resolve disputes. But the dispute over this shoal is more than a geopolitical tussle. In the Philippines especially, the waters around it are important fishing grounds. Those most directly affected, Filipino fishers, are deeply angry at China's nature reserve. From their point of view, it's not even the South China Sea, but the West Philippine Sea. And they say China has not been as eco-conscious in the region as it says.
They are hypocrites. The government of China are hypocrites. How could they declare Scarborough Shoal in the West Philippine Sea as theirs to build a nature reserve? They are the ones destroying it in the first place.
A complex web of claims and counterclaims involving 7 countries, Taiwan included, make the South China Sea one of the world's geopolitical hotspots. And China's new nature preserve is turning the temperature up. Andy Xue and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
What should Taiwanese people do if China were to invade? A new guidebook from Taiwan's National Security Council aims to answer that question. And here's Tiffany Wong showing you what's inside.
With its bright cover and illustrations, this may look like a children's book, but the information it contains is deadly serious. It's a guide on what to do in the event of a Chinese invasion of Taiwan. Reuters got a first look at the newest initiative from Taiwan's National Security Council to prepare its citizens for a day they hope will never come.
我们必须要在手册当中很清楚告诉全民，就是台湾并不会屈服于任何军事威权的侵略。好，那我们并不会投降。好，这个概念必须要让所有民众都能够建立起这样的心法。
The booklet contains essential information on how China might attack Taiwan, from sabotage like severing undersea communication cables to an all-out invasion. It tells readers which radio stations to tune into for emergency alerts, where to find bomb shelters, and what supplies to pack in a go bag. Defense officials hope that the more people understand the threats they face and the actions they can take during wartime, the better they'll be able to react if the time comes.
那另外特别我们也强调千万不要上传国军的这些行动这些影片或者是拍摄这样会泄露国军的行迹对这个国军的防卫作战是不利的所以我们这个也是提醒民众，除了要保护自身的安全然后也要这个确保相关的作为跟规定，然后来支持我们的军事作战。
And learning how to react in an emergency is something everyone can do starting from a young age. The book gives guidance to parents on how to discuss these sensitive issues with their kids.
我们其实也希望能够提供一些基本的指引让爸爸妈妈能够更这个轻松的去跟小朋友做说明那当然目的不是要让大家感受到害怕，而是这些所有的 内容都是希望能够让民众在真正危机发生的时候，你有一个更好的应对的方式。
With China's ongoing threats to take Taiwan by force, the NSC hopes this booklet can help prepare citizens for the worst-case scenario so that they can protect themselves and the country. Alex Chen and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
A big deal between Taiwan and the U.S. may be coming soon. That's according to U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, who put Taipei on his short list as he outlined his current trade priorities.
I think India will sort it out once they stop buying Russian oil. We've got a big deal coming with Taiwan. We'll probably get a deal done with Switzerland. Switzerland will sort its way out over time. We'll see how that works out. But those are countries that are still out there.
Lutnick gave no further details about the potential deal. Taiwan has been pushing for an agreement to reduce the 20% U.S. tariff on most of its goods that took effect August 7th. Taipei is also bracing for potential semiconductor duties under Section 232, a national security tariff probe run by the U.S. Commerce Department. Responding to Lutnick's comments, Taiwan's Office of Trade Negotiations said bilateral talks are progressing.
台美双方的关税谈判都持续推进，我们也努力争取将对等关税及232关税合并处理。那我们双方都认为，目前的谈判都有一定的进展，现在只是等待美方安排总结性的会商。
The office says it hopes a proposed tariff relief package will be passed by the legislature. A broadband supplier with government contracts is under investigation for allegedly obtaining leaked information from Taiwan's top military research center. A technician at the state-run weapons developer Zhongshan Institute was detained earlier this month for allegedly leaking bid documents related to a surveillance project. Investigators traced the leak to the project's contractor and broadband supplier Two-Way Group. They raided the company and questioned its CEO and a senior employee. Officials say the case involves national security laws and that the investigation is still ongoing. This year's Pacific Islands Forum is wrapping up on Friday with leaders tackling issues like climate change, while great power competition looms in the background. Cadence Quanta reports.
Leaders of Pacific Island nations gather for a photo in the Solomon Islands at an annual forum between the countries where this year at least one head of state said progress had been made.
We have made real advances in our common interests. We are all members of the Pacific family. And it's important that we cooperate on economic issues, on national security, and in dealing with the challenge of climate change.
One key outcome of this year's Pacific Islands Forum, a joint call by all participating nations for a, quote, ocean of peace, proclaiming their desire for peace and cohesion and taking a stand against great power competition in the region.
I think there is a concern that the great power competition between the People's Republic of China and the United States of America is now impacting even the running of the annual Pacific Island Forum. Also, don't forget, there's long been a concern of Pacific Islands that they don't become victim to this competition between the two powers and that they get trampled underfoot.
This year, the host, the Solomon Islands, announced that none of the forum's external partners would be invited, effectively barring countries that normally have a seat at the table, including Taiwan, the US, and China. The move reportedly followed pressure from Beijing to exclude Taiwan as it seeks to deepen its reach in the region. Taiwan has only 3 remaining diplomatic allies in the Pacific, after several switched recognition to China in recent years, including the Solomon Islands. Some of those allies expressed concern over Taiwan and other partners' exclusion. The president of Palau told AFP that there had, quote, absolutely been meddling in the forum and emphasized all partners should be included to be able to effectively solve challenges. And even without an invite this year, Beijing's presence still loomed large. For one, this year's meetings took place nearby a large stadium built and financed by the Chinese government. And China has appeared to ramp up an influence campaign, including providing hundreds of thousands of dollars in support for the Solomon Islands police force to help with summit preparations. But experts say, despite China's efforts, there are high hopes for Taiwan's future at the forum, especially as next year's event will be hosted by official ally Palau.
With Palau hosting the Pacific Island Forums next year, with Palau having diplomatic relations with Taiwan, I think we can rest assured that President Whips will make sure that Taiwan and all of the dialogue partners will be invited.
Still, great power competition is likely to continue playing a part in future forums. Its members made up of mostly tiny island nations with large strategic importance. Delphine Chen and Cadence Caranta for TaiwanPlus.
A delegation from the French Africa Foundation is visiting Taiwan's biggest chip industry event, Semicon, but they're also here to build connections. Earlier, I spoke with one of the delegation members, Tolu Ogunlesi, to find out more about their goals. When they first presented you this opportunity to come to Taiwan, what was the mission? What was the reason that you decided to come to Taiwan? What drew you to this place?
Look at the name, France, Africa. So it's been about connections. And so this was just another opportunity to connect. This time to take France and Africa and connect to Taiwan. And what better point of connection than Semicon? Taiwan is a global superpower in hardware, in semiconductors, and it's just the most obvious, the most natural thing to take Semicon as the point of the connection. Apart from attending Semicon, we've also had visits to Foxconn, Quanta, Yageo, and then of course the arts, the culture side. We've seen a bit of town, visited 1 or 2 temples. Like it's been a whole immersion in Taiwan, and it's been immensely insightful and fascinating.
What are some of the things that, after being in Taiwan, you've learned or you've taken away from this trip?
One of the things I think that stood out to me is how Taiwan manages to blend the old and the new. So on one side you have, there's nothing more cutting edge than semiconductors. And but on the other side, there's nothing more sort of like historic than some of the temples, and some of the older parts of the city that have been maintained and preserved. And I think there's a big lesson especially for us from Africa. There's a lot of inspiration, a lot of hope, a lot of lessons to just that, and we feel like if Taiwan can do it, then it should be possible in our countries as well.
How would you go about taking what you've learned from this trip in Taiwan here, going back to your home of Nigeria and then spreading the message there.
I think one of the things that has come out, stood out for me this week, or one of the big lessons, is just how much of Taiwan is in our daily lives, in our mobile phones. You know, I didn't think of that before coming here. That, you know, every time I put my computer on, or use my mobile phone, or use any electronic device, you know, there's a lot of Taiwan in those things. And so I think I feel a more visceral connection, you know, and definitely that's one of the messages I'm going to be taking back.
That was Tolu Ogunlesi from the French Africa Foundation. Coming up after the break, Taiwan's National Palace Museum showcases hundreds of precious artifacts from its collection in Prague.
Summer may be over, but the game goes on.
大家好，我是林金哲，就读润国小，今年准备升国一，我的国中是长安国中。大家好，我是陈启胜，今年准备升国一，我的国中是长安。
Champions never stop when the summer ends. It's a new season, new challenges, and the same passion for baseball. Now, the game is rising to a new level. Stay with us for more insights, only on Game On Taiwan.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. This year's Semicon Expo is wrapping up after a week of exhibitions, forums, and events. Reporter Chris Gordon was on the show floor to take us inside a theme that doesn't always grab headlines, but is shaping the industry's next moves.
As one of the world's largest chip trade shows in the world, Semicon opened on Wednesday. Organizers highlighted Taiwan's role in critical semiconductor technologies. The country provides the vast majority of the world's most advanced chips, which power phones, PCs, and the AI boom. One big focus for the show has been advanced packaging for chips. But what is that?
大部分人都知道说晶圆几奈米。比如说从过去的5奈米、3奈米一直进步到2奈米，越往下做呢，它的技术困难度越高，成本越高。晶圆制程遇到的一些瓶颈之后呢，它就要转往封装，来解决这样子的问题。
Modern chips are really a team of chips, compute, memory, and other parts on interconnected layers in an arrangement known as 2.5D. While so-called 3D packaging relies on vertical stacking of parts, bringing them closer for faster connections that use less power and space.
There's still demand for chips getting smaller and cheaper, more efficient, especially now that AI is demanding more and more compute at a faster rate of improvement than ever before. And it's getting harder and harder at the same time to scale in the traditional way, which was 2D. Right? Instead of making the floor plan smaller, why don't we add more floors to the skyscraper?
Assembling and testing these tiny packages is highly technical, and AI demand has kept capacity tight. That's led some of Taiwan's chip-making giants like TSMC to expand their own capacity, aiming to more than double its popular chip-on-wafer-on-substrate or CoWoS packaging output this year. It's outlined plans for 2 advanced packaging sites in the U.S. state of Arizona, while its American partner Amkor is also building a $2 billion packaging plant in the state. Despite those expansions, Taiwan remains the most important location in the world for a packaging market expected to reach nearly $80 billion by 2030, due to its localized ecosystem of the entire chip supply chain.
那台湾能够提供的供应链还是在全球是最完整的。那当然，整个供应链在全球是各个地方都有需要啦，也不是只有台湾，但是台湾它能够提供的 solution 是最多的。
Taiwan are the main focus to the world, based on no matter you can see here, CMP, PVD, lithography, of course, and the reason why it's important because TSMC helped them or co-work with them so much. So this company will gonna grow with so much talent, so much intelligence in it.
That close-in supply chain, tools, materials, packaging, and talent in one place. is why Taiwan still holds the lead in semiconductors, even as designs grow more complex and power efficiency becomes central. This year's Semicon is focused on key technologies that are the building blocks of the next wave of computing, and how one country is determined to secure its place at the heart of it all. Alex Chun and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
90% of the world's chip manufacturing machinery is made by one Dutch firm, ASML. The company has been riding the waves amid changes to the global supply chain. Our reporter Isabel Wong sat down with author Mark Haiyink at Semicon to find out what Taiwanese tech companies can learn from his book, Focus, the ASML Way.
So after following ASML for closely 3 years, how would you define ASML? Maybe in one word or one sentence?
Well, that's hard to grasp. I think the title sums it up pretty much. It's focused, and focus in 5 dimensions. I'll name the most important ones. Focus in its machine. To get to this nanometer size of accuracy, you need focus in the tool itself.
And then there's the news that come out talking about ASML is investing big amount, having 11% of share of a French Mestros AI company. From your point of view, what is the strategic partnership trying to achieve?
At ASML, they call this the holistic approach. So you need more measurements to do better litho. To digest all that immense amount of data, you can use like old-fashioned computing, CPUs, but ASML has been switching to GPUs, like NVIDIA's chips, because you can use AI models to do better prediction based on patterns you find in huge amounts of data. So there are a couple of models you can use. You can use OpenAI, it's Google Gemini, or DeepSeek, or whatever. But ASML's choice was to choose a European supplier of AI models, which is Mistral.
ASML or Netherlands as a country, they're still tangling between US, China, and maybe like the European countries in general. So what do you think would be like the challenge, or when Taiwan's tech companies are trying to expand globally right now, what will there be like similar challenges that they might face?
So let's start with the resemblance between Taiwan and the Netherlands, because we're not tangling between 2 superpowers. We're also trading with 2 superpowers, both of our countries. So we have to balance that out. We have to be neutral, especially for the monopolists in our countries, which is TSMC, providing over 70% of every semiconductor made every year, and ASML providing 90% of the litho tools and having a monopoly on the most advanced one, EUV. So they want to be neutral players, and which means you can't give advantages to one of your customers and keep them away from others. I think they both feel the responsibility to be the Switzerland of semiconductor.
That was Mark Haiyink, author of Focus, the ASML Way. You can watch the full interview on TaiwanPlus's YouTube channel or website later this month. Hundreds of pieces of art from Taiwan, including the famous jadeite cabbage, are on display in Prague for the first time. It's part of a collaboration between Taiwan's National Palace Museum and the Czech Republic. Irene Lin has more.
In Prague, all eyes are on Taiwan's national treasure, the jadeite cabbage. In its exhibition, 100 Treasures, 100 Stories, Taiwan's National Palace Museum is showing off some of its most famous pieces in the heart of Europe. It's the first time the collection has been shown in the city, and the first time it's been abroad in over a decade. Taiwan's Foreign Minister Lin Jialong and Cultural Minister Li Yuan joined Czech officials at the opening ceremony.
When I was in Taiwan, I saw the pork. And now I finally saw cabbage, so I have it complete, I have to say. It's really beautiful. We are very, very happy to have this opportunity, and it's really friendship when we have such a great partners in Taiwan who have trust in us.
Taiwan has been working to introduce its culture in Europe this year. Earlier in June, The foreign minister took a European delegation to watch an original musical about Dutch colonial history in Taiwan. And now this exhibition in Prague signals a continuation of cultural exchanges between Taiwan and the Czech Republic. The National Palace Museum's director says it only lends its most precious pieces to its true friends.
这次展览非常具有很大的象征意义，就是台捷文化交流另外一次重大的一个里程碑。提出策划捷克文物的展览到台湾展出，那国立故宫博物院未来将持续开放的态度。
Foreign Minister Ling's stop in Prague is part of a 10-day tour around Europe to strengthen Taiwan's ties. The ministry has kept its schedule a secret to prevent interference. The exhibition runs through December 31st. Enough time, officials hope, to introduce Taiwan's multifaceted cultural heritage, first to Prague, then to the world. Fu Huahong and Irene Lin for TaiwanPlus.
And thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, grab a spoonful of Taiwanese Longan honey, which has just been nominated for the Great Taste Golden Forks Awards. I'm Lusty Liao. Take care and see you next time.